myself once a month.
You've got to determine, I mean, you've got to put your money into your business operating account, and you need to at least establish a business account. Preferably, you'll hear in another class, 7 is ideal. It sounds like a lot, but you've got 3 on each side, and then 1 for taxes.
I heard that. Capital, taxes, I forgot the other 2.
Operating, and then savings and reserve. But if you take that approach, you'll start actually getting that mindset that belongs to the business, and you determine what you need to live off of. So, I mean, really, when you're starting your business plan, you need to say, okay, I need X amount a year to live. We actually have Ed Turner, who's an agent in our office, developed a business model where you say, I want to make $200,000 a year. What's your average price point? You plug that in. You plug the average commission. It will tell you need 39 listings and 33 buyer
and how many appointments you need to get that number.
Yeah.
And all of that. This isn't the business plan class. We're just giving you some tidbits so you can get your mind right.
Yeah.
But Laura, you cannot think about your business as a business until you can capitalize it.
Yeah,
because
you know me, how long I've been in here, and I always run from corporate back to here. And I want to be able to stay here.
And I want you to. Laura and I, how far back do we go?
I don't know, years. Because my kids
8
were
years?
little.
9 years?
Yeah, it's a long time because my children were little. Now my son is 31 and my daughter's 27.
No way.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, time going.
So,
Y'all have these handouts. See this
Yes.
one right here? That you brought the attention to me with quarter. Okay, most people in this world, 95% of the money earned in this world, or 95 people earn their money as an employee, which means you work for a boss, which means you can get fired. You do have the security of knowing you have a paycheck every week. The natural as you become a realtor, you drop down to that S, the self-employed. That's where most people start to fail. They don't know how to run it like a business. You don't have a boss. No one can give you an order. I mean, your accountability has gone away unless you're an incredibly strong person and can stay focused. You're going to wander. I've been there. I mean, pretty day outside, I'm like, man, I really would like to be on the lake fishing. I can't because I realize now I've got to keep the listings coming to keep my business.
or schedule it. We're not telling you, this isn't gloom. This is,
No.
It's not that I'm self-employed. I have no time off. I personally don't take enough time off, and I'm quick to admit that, and I seriously don't, and it's a flaw because I get so exhausted that some days I'm just going through the motions. But it's my determination and my knowledge that one day I do want to retire, and I know what day that is that I want to retire, but these are things I've worked out with myself. So it doesn't mean that Scott can't ever go fishing, because he does, and he's gonna. But he knows he's got to get to his numbers, and then reward yourself. I'm rewarding myself for Mother's Day weekend. I'm the mama, told my kids at Christmas, and it's hard for 7 adults to get time off at the same time. But I gave them 6 months notice. And I said, every year at Christmas, I'm going to announce where our vacation is. I'm going to take everybody, and we're going to go, and we're going to have ample time. Last year, we went to Charleston, and I threw a wedding of the century, and when my daughter got married. I'm just taking 5 days off. I'm not saying you can't take more than that. I'm saying that you have to schedule those things. Otherwise, if you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, man, I just want to go do such and such, you got a business to run. You got to realize that some of us in this room are getting older, and our days are numbered, and we know when we want to retire. If we don't treat it like a business now, it's not going to be a business that we can sell to somebody else.
And if you don't treat it like a business now, you won't be able to live the way Keller Williams suggests with God, family, then business. I mean, without God and family, you would not have any business. But I mean, we're not open 24/7 unless you're a convenience store. I don't know many businesses that are. Banks have hours. I mean, we've got to designate time for our personal lives as well, and that's what separates you from the business.
When I hired Michelle, my second assistant, she's part-time, meeting with Justin this afternoon, isn't she? She's part-time. I allow her to set her own schedule for the most part. When there's something that needs to be done that she has to do, she knows about it, so she can schedule. But one of the first things I told her is, even though many realtors treat their business like they're about to go to the emergency room, do you know anybody in this room, or do you know of somebody, if you don't want to admit it, who has something's coming up and, oh my gosh, I gotta do this. It's a business. Probably blood's not flowing, probably flames aren't going up, and probably there's not a flood. So I told her, we're in business. I want to help buyers buy, sellers sell. I know what it takes to make that happen, but don't ever let me make you feel like you're headed to the emergency room. Plan ahead, have systems in place, and you won't feel like that. But what if you don't have a contract that's going to close in the next few weeks and you've got to feed your family? Don't you kind of feel like you're headed to the emergency room? Mm-hmm. Okay, you've got to treat your business like a business. Get organized, get systems, do your lead generation, do the things that have to be done, learn from other people, ask questions, mimic behaviors, read books. I brought in, I'm going to quote you from one of my favorite books in a minute, Success Magazines. Deb's got these in the office. We've got them upstairs. This is a great source of getting business information. If we're going to treat, this is our mindset, we've got to read business material. You can find this stuff online, but you know what? Sometimes if you go about the old-fashioned way and you look at the page and you see the pictures and you see the graphs and all those things and just look at it all together and not on a little tiny screen on your phone, you can absorb so much more.
Success is also a very good, it is an entrepreneurial magazine, not a corporate magazine, so it's geared towards people that own their own businesses.
I was going to bring some other books in, but I decided to toss it out there to you. If you're interested, I've got a lot of business books, and if you're interested in some, what my trick is, I go on Amazon and buy the used books, and I can get them for $4 and they're shipped to my door. I want you to write this down if you don't write down anything else. Good to Great. Good to Great. It's a Jim Collins wrote a book, and I just saw Justin nodding his head. What's your takeaway from Good to Great?
I think it's a great book. I love books like that, and Good to Great, I mean, it's definitely on my shelf. A lot of books that I own, I end up reading them and then passing them on because I think it'd be good to share with people. That's one that I won't really pass on because I like having that as a solid go-back-to book. But it's definitely a strong mindset because, I mean, anyone can be good at what they do, but if you really want to exceed and excel, then it's definitely a good book to read.
There's 4 books that they ask you to read in this particular portion of the MBA. Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Gary Keller wrote that.
Do you know how Gary Keller wrote the book? Gary Keller did a study of people who were, what's the name of the book?
Millionaire Real Estate.
Okay, so he studied people who were
Made
millions of dollars. They had businesses. They weren't practicing what they're doing. By the way, I don't like to go to doctors who have a practice either because I don't want to be the one they practice on. But but he wrote The Millionaire Real Estate based on what millionaires were doing by selling real estate. So it's pretty valid. He's just one of the most amazing individuals I know who he could put all this stuff together with his buddy Jay Papasan, and they put the information together so that we could understand it. He was on purpose about naming it Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Why do you think that is?
To make everybody a millionaire.
Do you want to read a book that was written by the $90,000?
$2 Jim.
You know, this isn't $2 Chuck, whatever that is, $3, whatever. This is.
It's $4 a bottle.
Oh, it is? Okay, well, whatever. But he wrote it and he titled it, and he was intentional about that book. But then he gave us all the Success Leaves Clues. Have you heard that? Success Leaves Clues. He gave us he gave us their names. He gave us their stories. He put it all in a system and gave us the model, the business model, the operational model, the staffing model, budget model. It's all there. And it's not there because he thinks, you know what, I bet that would be a good idea to do that. All he did was take what these successful people have been doing. The book came out 10 years ago, and I'm here because I read the book. I read the book, I got on the phone, and I called the Keller Williams office, the only one in the area, and said, I read this book, and Jim DeFee and I came at the same time, same reason. And I said, I want to work there. And I left another franchise and came over because of Gary's book. And then I believed in it enough. Deb was talking about franchise systems orientation. I believed in what I saw enough that I booked a room. I paid for franchise systems orientation, and I flew to Austin, Texas. I'm sorry. I didn't turn my phone off.
$25. Let me give you a couple other books here. The graphs and charts you have come from a author called Robert Kiyosaki. Is that correct?
Yes.
Have you read Cash Flow Quadrant? That's the name of the book. It's an easy read.
These are the quadrants.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. You read that? I know you read that.
I read a lot.
Yeah. And then the other book is another Gary Keller book. It's The One Thing. Speaking of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, Gary recommends over time you read it 12 different times. And
Louis, how many times
the
have you read it?
Or the
Millionaire.
MREA, how many times have you read it?
Twice. Sean Ross says you have to read the book 7 times.
I think you should read it every spring. Or take it on vacation and read it every vacation. Or take it, read that when you're doing, right before you do your budget. Say in November or December you're doing your,
Does
December's
everybody
too
have
late.
it? Does everybody have that book?
What's the red book?
MREA, Red Book?
Uh-huh.
What I did, I took it to Books A Million, and they, for like $3 or $4, they bound it or put it on a spiral bound. So I can take in there and put tabs and notes where I need to go reference certain systems. And if I think, what am I supposed to do here? Boom. But I use it as a reference book, not just to read. And
Where you
notes.
gonna get that done at?
Any
Staples,
Staples,
Books A
anybody
Million.
yeah,
Yeah,
spiral
I'm
bound.
obviously not a real estate agent, but I read it all. I love it. I mean, it's easily one of my favorite books because it's business is business,
Right.
and I mean, I use it for my business as well. I mean, granted, there's some aspects that don't apply, but I can just transition those to meet my focus on my business. But I think it's a great book. It's a great guide.
It is not complicated by any means. I mean, he uses the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And it's, what's the word I'm looking for? Difficulty, and it requires a lot of work, which, I mean, that's hard work, but it's simple. Simple and easy, people tend to confuse, and they're very different words.
It can be overwhelming if you read it all at one time. I tell people to read it at a time. When you're finished, go back and review what you read a day or so later. Don't sit down and try to read the whole thing at one time. It's not a, it's not a Daniel Steele novel. You can't take it all in and process it all.
I'm going to ask Lewis a question, because I know Lewis does this. You call for sale by owners, right?
And I don't call them, I can stop by and say,
Okay, whatever.
Hey.
Does it work
Is
for you?
that hard? Is that hard? Is it not a hard task?
No, it comes easy to me.
It's simple.
But to me, it is.
But at first, I
can
mean,
understand it.
walking up to a door and knocking, that's not difficult. Transitioning from the conversation to get it where it's uncomfortable to you now, it's natural. But that comes from effort and repetition, right?
You're right. Or you do something easier, it becomes.
And
How many
many
times
of
they call the
you,
cops on you when you're out on the door?
Depending on how the conversation goes.
okay, how many of you
Totally
see this as weighing 500 pounds? And you think about, oh, it's time to lead generate, and you're like, oh, my grandson Lucas, who is, adorable, as you all know, he'll say, it's heavy, Mimi, it's heavy. I had him carry a gallon of milk, and he said, it's heavy. So many people think of this as, it's too heavy, I can't do it, because we know we have to think about who you're calling. Call when you're lead generating. This is the mindset. Don't say, oh, I've got to make 10 calls or 100 calls or whatever your goal is, and then it's an arduous task, right? If that's looming in front of you, is that something, Stephanie, that you go, woohoo, I get to make these calls? Let's make it easy. Call people that you know. Call people you went to high school with. This guy ran into his college roommate in Publix and said, what?
300 miles away from here. I hadn't seen him in 20-something years, and he's an attorney and lives in Hickory Hills. It's like a mile from me, and they've been there for 6 years.
So, think about those people in your life. Reconnect with them. Let that be your lead generation. The part of the mindset, what I'm alluding to here is we have limited beliefs. We think, I can't make 20 calls today. So how many calls do we make?
0.
0. Because we think, I can't do it. Mimi, it's too heavy.
Well, ideally you want to pick up the phone and try to get somebody to answer on the other end. There's a way to get around this. Anybody have the app on their phone called Dial?
I'll give you the number if you
Y'all
don't
familiar
have
with it? Basically, you hit the app
Guarantee
button.
you somebody has used it on you this week.
What happens is it will dial that phone's voicemail without ringing that particular person's phone. They don't know you've called, but it lets you leave a voicemail without the fear of you having to worry they answer it. And somebody's going to call you back if you make enough calls.
What is it? Slide?
Dial.
SLY?
DIAL.
No, but Scott, I find that it's so much more successful if you actually talk to them.
I said it's starting out
Absolutely.
though. People trying to get their confidence up.
Yeah.
If using
absolutely,
slide dial is the
right.
worst case scenario.
Yeah.
At least you're making calls and you're practicing your scripts on a voicemail. So there's a workaround. We could sit up here and talk about workarounds for every single thing that your mind is telling you cannot do. Does anybody have something else that they cannot do besides making calls? Because we know that you're thinking to yourself, I'm like Luke, is it too heavy?
That's the hardest. That's the stumbling block is the phone. Everything else is not difficult
Does anybody have, but is there a conversation?
The door knocking was
other
hard,
than door knock.
and I started reading Go for No. So I read my little chapter what I was gonna do, and I walked to this guy, and I forgot the name of the subdivision. As soon as I hit this driveway, I don't want it, I don't care, whatever. A year ago, I would have been, I'm just going home. I said, okay, and went to the next door and just knocked on that one.
If you want the slide dial number, it is 1267.
1267.
But go ahead. There's a number for Slide?
I thought you downloaded.
Yeah.
Maybe. I dialed the number.
Go
and
to
then-
the
I didn't know
Play
that.
Store or the Apple Store, and you can find it there. But you're just the actual number that it dials.
Yeah, the actual number that it dials is 1267-759-3425.
Okay, 1267-759.
3425.
And it's SLYDIL.
DIAL. Slide like a fox. Dial like make a phone call.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Have you ever used Phone Burner or Mojo?
Which is the
It's
speed dialing.
speed dialing, so if you have your whole database and maybe you want to
Frank
follow
used
up
it
with
at one
people,
time.
you can, it's all online based, so you can just hit call and it calls from your phone, but if they don't answer, it automatically
Goes
sends
to the
them
next
a
call.
pre-recorded voicemail that you've already done once, so you don't have to leave a voicemail
That's
over and over and
Hard
over.
cold calling system, though, is what that really is.
Right, but then
Right.
if they answer, then you can have that conversation, et cetera, but at least you're not spending tons and tons of time.
One thing when you're calling or door knocking, you've got to have a call to action. You can't go up there and wing it. You have to have a reason, and they need to understand it clearly what you're there for.
What would some of those reasons be? What is your reason when you pick up the heavy phone to make a call?
I do circle prospecting, or if I list something, I'll call around the neighborhood and let them know that I've listed it. Right now, I'm just calling them, just saying the market is great. Have you thought about selling?
I'm glad you said that about the market being great, because the market is great, but let me caution you what we're up against. Every time we post something on social media or we're in a group of people and we talk about how great the market is, we've got to be very careful, because the market is thriving in certain areas. Certain areas it's not thriving, so know your numbers and know who you're talking to. If you go to somebody in a certain market area, you probably know where it is. Maybe that's not thriving like it is in certain areas. It's still driven in large part by school district, by that immediate market. So it's not universally growing. It's trending up for everybody, yes. But you have to be real careful about the message you deliver, because if you over deliver that message and you set your seller up that he's going to make, ooh, I saw somewhere where properties are selling for 30% more than they did last year. Not everywhere they're not. Don't set yourself up for having a listing that is not going to sell. Likewise, if we put too much of that out there, I have found in the last month, and I think Scott has too, that there are agents who got out of the business and they've come back into the business, and they got out because they weren't functioning at a high level. Has business changed in the last 12 months?
Very different.
24 months? How about 5 years ago when they got out of the business? It's not the same business. They don't understand the forms. They don't understand what the marketplace is doing. I had agents call me and say, or buyers that have called and said, I want us to go see X number of foreclosures. Well, guess what? In Henry County, Georgia, we have 6.
Let's go to Arizona.
You know, we did have, way back, we had 200 at any given time. But this message that we're communicating, if we want to be successful, we want to drive that business, we have to be careful about what comes out of our mouth. So think about what you're saying and don't set yourself up to fail. Because if you don't have all the business you want and you're talking fast so you can get some quick business and then you fail at that business, what's going to happen? You're still going to be dried up.
Sandra had a question.
Yes.
Go.
Some areas, unfortunately, they're still showing a decline. And then Georgia was listed nationally as the highest foreclosure in the United States still. At
Now?
3.2%.
We have foreclosed, but they're not back on the market. That's where it's confusing. Banks have foreclosed. They have sold, but I mean, you can walk through almost any neighborhood and see a house that's vacant, and the bank has, but the Department of Banking and Finance is not allowing all of those properties to come on the market because we're trying to get short sales and traditional resales to go through because that's what's going to drive the market up. If all these while the market's going like this from traditional resales and short sales are selling and all these foreclosures hit the market,
Well, the goal is for the foreclosures to coattail now on the resales. The reverse of what happened in 2007, 8, 9.
We're still up there as number one, though.
But how is
in the United States.
How is that?
Because they're still selling them on the courthouse steps. And there are a lot of people in trouble. People don't know this.
there are a lot of people in
There
trouble.
are a lot of people in trouble. They don't admit it, but they've been struggling trying to get modifications. It takes months to get modifications sometimes. They haven't happened. So the banks are not willing to do modifications anymore. So these people are basically just out of luck.
Okay, for those of you that want to get your MBA designation, did you write down the books that Scott identified?
Yes.
Think and Grow Rich, Cash Flow Quadrant, The One Thing, and the MREA. I would add to that list. Good to Great. I think it's an excellent book to motivate you to think larger than yourself. And there's some great stories in there. I'm not going to bore you with them because I think they're really, all the details need to be laid out. And if I gave you a condensed version, you wouldn't get all the details that go into a business that was okay. You know, they were going on vacation, they were paying their bills, they owned their home. And then they went to great because they took it further. They put more into it. And then that's a business that's worth selling. And that's what this whole concept of the MBA is about, is to go from Patty to not Patty. Because I'm 55 years old. My grandchildren, the only 2 I have now with 1 on the way, are going to, they're going to need me. They need me now, but they're going to need me, and I need them. So in 8 years, I want not me to sell so that I can keep being me.
One thing, I looked at the list and it's kind of got sprung on us today of what you have to attend to obtain an MBA, and it's going to require an investment of money. I mean, Bolt, $800. Going to Austin is a pretty penny. But don't be discouraged. Still take all these classes because whether you get the MBA or not, there is so much great stuff in there. Get incorporated. That will really set you apart and make you feel that not me approach.
And if you feel overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, I've just been through all these other classes, now these people are saying I got to take these other classes, take something away. Lewis scheduled the class for the incorporations with Bart, and if you, okay, I didn't say this, so this is Vegas, and it's going to stay in this room. If you don't do all 10 of the steps, and you do 5 of them well, your business is going to be improved. So if you incorporate and you get your accounts right, and you stop living commission check to commission check, And if you do these other steps, and if you start thinking, I mean, this is a launch pad today. We're thinking bigger than we did when we came in. We have to break
process. It's
break
not a magic
down your
pill.
limited
Definitely.
beliefs. And I'm going to call Laura out because she knows I love her, and she's not going to get mad at me. But if you're saying, oh my gosh, I got this $100,000 house, I'm going to get a check for $3,000, and this money has to go here, and this money has to go here. How can I think about capitalizing? I've got to pay my bills.
Exactly, that's how I was thinking.
It's a mindset, and you have to think, okay, that means I've got to work harder to get more transactions in my pipeline. If I'm going to get more transactions so that I can capitalize one day, it's not today. It might be in 6 months. But you have to think about, okay, I had to make however many phone calls to get that buyer that bought that house. I want to have 5 listings. Maybe you don't have 5 listings right now and you want to get to 5. What is it going to take? How many phone calls, how many appointments, how many of whatever your steps are has it taken in the past for you to get 1 listing? Multiply that. Get out your calendars and schedule and time block. Don't let a day go by without you meeting. I mean, I'm going to have 2 appointments. 2 appointments. And guess what? You guys are one of them today. But I've actually got 2 follow-up calls to set appointments, and I do have a client meeting this afternoon. Oh no, I do have 2. Okay, so today's a good day. There's 3. But time block to make sure you have time for all those things that are important. I time block to watch my Braves. I don't get to see them every day. I don't go to the games very often, but that's important to me. I get a lot of stuff done while I'm doing that. I got a house under contract. I presented an offer for an hour last night on a 3-way conference call, but I glanced over at my TV now and then. My point is, change the way you do things. Tomorrow should be different than today. Plan something for tomorrow that you didn't think about before. What you do during the day to schedule your activities. Can you do, we were talking about 26 systems. Okay, are you going to start with 26 systems? Isn't that kind of like, I can't do that. That's overwhelming. I don't have 26 systems. I need to implement new systems. I have some systems. There some that are good, some that need tweaking, and some I need to add. But you're not going to start out with 26 systems. Change something every day that you do to improve it. Let your mind rule over the matter. Let your mind tell you, I do want to do better. I do aspire to be on the leaderboard, or I do aspire to have 5 listings, 10 listings, 25 listings, whatever the number is that's right for you. And then set out ways to attain that.
We named our LLC, Lori and I did, Kaizen LLC. And Kaizen's a Japanese word for constantly changing for the better. So when I hear that, this is what we're about, and we constantly, it's a subliminal thought. It's a lot better than Scott and Lori LLC. I mean, it's different. It's not us. But that's what Deb was trying to do this morning, was trying to take out something that wasn't you. And I mean, she kind of missed a little bit of it, but there was a lot going on that day. But, what's your favorite place in the world? I like Key West, but make it something that feels good to you, something that can be a goal that's not you.
Or something that motivates you, something you enjoy. I mean, obviously, I've already mentioned those grandchildren how many times? I think 5. So
That's how many I have.
So think about those things that are going to, as Scott said, motivate you to get to the place you're going. But keep your eye on that prize. Keep your eye on what's important to you. I want very much, I've got certain charitable ideas and things that I want to accomplish and want to do. And I think about that a lot. I love writing my tithe check to my church. I get so excited about that and the things that it can do. I get excited about the charities that I support and the things that can happen. Those are things that matter. Those are things that are tangible. Because when I get up every day, I want to do something that improves the life of somebody else and leave a legacy. I want the world to somehow, my existence made a difference somewhere. And maybe it's bigger than me, maybe it's just within my own family, I don't know. But focus on what you want to accomplish, who you want to be, how you're going to get there, and do it. How do you eat an elephant?
We might do the television.
And start on the right end. So you eat an elephant one bite at a time. When I've got a client right now who is a hoarder, and she has, over the last 6 months, she's admitting that, and we're taking steps. And it's somebody that I've known and cared about for a long time. And, you know, when I go over there to help her, 1 hour a week, I go over to help her identify something she can fix. She's not ready for professional help yet. She needs it, but she's not quite there yet. I haven't listed her house yet. When I do list her house, if I break down all the hours I spent, is that gonna make a difference? I mean, is that gonna add up? I'm not gonna really make any money off of that, but I sure have changed how she feels about herself. So we need to make a difference. That's gonna be a listing. I'm gonna sell it. It's gonna be a great experience. But my message to you is make a difference, but have a plan. You're not going to make a difference in somebody's life. If I didn't give her a plan, right now her number one goal is for her 2 dumpsters that she has for trash will be full every Thursday by 8 o'clock, and she takes a picture of them and sends it to me. That sounds like such a little thing, and it's changing her life. This is a great opportunity for us in the real estate business to make a difference in people's lives.
What
So-
Patty just did is she made this woman, they became accountability partners. And I highly encourage you guys to do that. And go find somebody. This girl in the back is awesome at it, her and
I
Claudia.
know that.
I'm like, what's going on, Stephanie? 8:30 in the morning, you're early. But I always pick on her. She's a different schedule than I am. I'm earlier because taking Abby to school, but she comes in around 10 and stays till 7. But she's been here at 8:30 every morning. I'm like, something's up. And they're practicing scripts together.
Scripts and making calls from 9 to 11 every day.
And she picked a good one because Claudia doesn't like to lose.
She's good.
That's great.
Has anything been said in the last 45 minutes that impacted you?
Yes.
What?
When you said if you have 2 listings a day and 1.
2 appointments, and their appointments, they're face-to-face appointments. The phone calls don't count. They're face-to-face appointments, and if I don't have one, because I don't have anything tomorrow after 3 o'clock. So today, I'm going to make sure I have an appointment tomorrow between 3 and 7.
Yeah, that right there. That means that you don't stop working until you get it.
Absolutely. And that is one thing I'm able to hold myself accountable to. I'm old-fashioned. I have an old-fashioned calendar, the kind that you actually take a pen and you write things down in, because I look at it. I look at it all the time. And if I see a day that isn't scheduled, that I don't have those at least 2 appointments with people who are in a position to buy or sell real estate or refer someone to me, if you want to find those people, one thing that every week I take somebody, a past client or a future client, I schedule to take them to lunch. You're thinking, I can't pay somebody, I can't pay $20 a week to take somebody to lunch. Guess what? Sometimes it doesn't work out. But they still love the fact that I have reached out to them and said, I just want to talk about what's going on with you, and I want to share with you what's going on with me. So what's going on with me? Yeah, I talked about Lucas and the cutest thing he said. Like last night he said, Daddy, the moon turned on. That is adorable. But I'll share something like that, and they'll say, oh, that's who Patty is. Patty loves those kids. And then I say, look, I'm really trying to meet this goal. I really need to get some listings. I really need to help, da-da-da-da, whatever it is. I'm bringing them into who I am, reminding them the me that they know. But I don't leave it there. I'm not just going to assume they're going to remember that I sell real estate. I'm going to go overboard telling them about this cool story or this person I helped or that neighborhood that's thriving or whatever it is. So I'm going to leave you with one tidbit to get your mind where you want it to be. Have factoids every day. Those of you who've been in any class I've ever taught, I always talk about the factoids. You need information. It's a made-up word. F-A-C-T, factoid. It's a little something, it's a nugget. Maybe nugget's a better word, although they're not white breast chicken. Take a nugget, a factoid, something that is impactful about our business. This guy is a great resource for you to get facts from. What did he tell us today that's important to your business? Okay, how are you going to share that with your future clients? Are you going to say, "Oh man, interest rates are dropping"? They're not going to get it if that's where you leave it. If you say, "Hey, I'm not sure what your current mortgage. If you're not looking to buy now, and if you're not looking to sell and buy now, you may really want to think about refinancing." And then ask them what their interest rate is. Do you know? Just give Justin a call. When you are helpful to them and you put his name out there, it's his responsibility if he gets the business or not. But what's the first thing Justin's going to say? Scott, what's the first thing Justin's going to say when my client says, "Hi, Patty Traber gave me your number"? What's he gonna say?
Congratulations for working one of the best agents in our market. I mean, he turns around and builds you back up.
Best I can. Best I can.
Sometimes Justin he says, "Patty."
Wait, you right with Patty? Wrong number.
Let me tell you a better agent than us.
So be knowledgeable. Okay, here I'm putting everybody on the spot. Who gets up in the morning at 6 or earlier?
You're just going to bed.
How about 7? How about 8? How about 9? Thank you for your honesty. One of the first things you can do, one of the first things I recommend you do, is have some spiritual time. Start your day the right way and have some time of devotion and check in with your maker and be sure you're on the same page for the day. The next thing you need to do, maybe while you're drinking coffee, maybe while you're on the treadmill, whatever it is you do to start your day, get a hook, something going on with real estate. Remind yourself what you're about as a business. Go on NAR's website. Go on Justin's website. Go on MLS and search a neighborhood. Something so that as you go out about in your day, you're empowered, not just for the people you talk to, but who are you what's important about empowering yourself?
You can empower someone else.
You can empower someone else, but it starts right here. It starts in a combination of what's between your ears and what's hidden right here. So read something, go online, read another chapter of that book you've chosen to read, something that empowers you, reminds you, cements you as a business owner.
What do you think is one thing you should not do in the first hour and a half of waking up is
Check your phone.
email? Because, I mean, like Patty says, you're getting your mind set for the day. You can read one email that's going to send you totally sideways.
I'm terrible about that.
They're going to be out there. I mean, they are. But you've got to get focused on where you're going with your day, and that email becomes less of an issue. And it's handled probably much better than when you're sitting there.
Every email we get is not happy news. And every post you see.
How many emails do you get from clients with happy news? Very few. They're all about what do I do, what do I do.
Or the drama on Facebook. Do I get on Facebook? Yes, I do. And I encourage you to do that. But do it in a smart way. Don't do it, and please, you are a reflection of the things you say. And if you've had a bad day, is that the right place to air your laundry? Do we know people that do that and it makes us want to gag and delete them? I delete them. Sometimes I don't. Just be a person that you want to spend time with, because guess what? You're spending time with yourself. So be a person that you want to spend time with. Parting thoughts?
I think you nailed it.
You got books to read. You got things you can do. It's about what choices you make, because every day you choose what clothes you're going to put on. You choose what food is going to go in your mouth. You choose what direction your car is going to drive. Now it's time for you to choose where you want your business to be.
Justin?
Quick question, just about from what Deb had mentioned about the books for the whole course. How do you get that on like a digital version?
She's working on that, she said. For us to check in with her.
The syllabus, if you will, for that.
I don't know, like maybe.
This is the hard copy, and she said she's working on getting it so we can
They're
have
doing
it
so you can
paperless.
get a link to an ebook, I think is what they're trying to do.
It's going to be in
Or so, PD, it's going to be
Dropbox.
In Dropbox, probably by
When does that
chapter.
start?
You're in it.
This class is today. This is mindset. We're focusing on getting our mind. It's the first one of 10 of these classes. The second one is tomorrow, and that's when we talk about incorporating your business. If you do not have plans to immediately incorporate, please be here tomorrow at 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock. So you can find out the next steps you need to take so you can do that. That's the way you treat your business like a business, when it is a business.
As an LLC, your business can deduct a lot more items on your taxes than you can as an individual. And your bracket is going to be closer to 20% than 28 to 32%.
That's one thing I have done. Start with LLC. I don't have all the business.
We started a little late, but we're going to end as close to on time as we can because your time is important. But if you ever need me, if I can help encourage you, you're welcome to call me or email me is the easiest way to get me because, you know, I've got those 3 appointments. So you can email me, Patty, P-A-T-T-Y, at teamtraber.com. Traber is just like it sounds, T-R-A-B-E-R. And Scott doesn't really want to talk to anybody.
You don't call Patty between 1 and 3 because she's watching General Hospital reruns.
Yeah, that's the real deal.
That's not you, it's somebody else. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Free to go.
It's